This month is the 5th anniversary of the publication of Titania McGrath's acclaimed book, Woke, A Guide to Social Justice. I created this intersectional activist and slam poet in order to satirize the new intolerant and authoritarian identity-obsessed religion and its stranglehold on society. Having seen so many posh and entitled activists berating working-class straight white people for their privilege, I could think of no more appropriate reaction than mockery. Even Harry Windsor was at it, and he's an actual prince. 5 years on, and I cannot decide whether I find it funny or depressing that so many of Titania's ideas in that book ended up becoming reality. Nothing that Titania was ever able to suggest has not eventually been outdone by real-life activists. It's as though they were reading her book for inspiration. For instance, in a chapter from Woke, entitled Towards an Intersectional Socialist Utopia, Titania makes the following observation.
Capitalism, after all, is a singularly male phenomenon. The ultimate symbol of capitalism, the skyscraper, is nothing more than a giant cock on the horizon, fucking the heavens.
16 months after the book was published, this article appeared in The Guardian. Upward thrusting buildings ejaculating into the sky. Do cities have to be so sexist? Or what about this passage from a chapter in Woke called White Death? Here, Titania calls out Helen Keller for her white privilege.
Consider, if you will, the example of white American author Helen Keller, 1880 to 1968. Even though she was left deaf and blind following an illness as a baby, she still managed to study for a degree, write 12 books, and travel the world to give lectures. This kind of privilege is staggering.
Now compare that with an article that appeared in Time magazine over a year later, in which the author writes, however, to some black disability rights activists like Anita Cameron, Helen Keller is not radical at all, just another, despite disabilities, privileged white person, and yet another example of history telling the story of privileged white Americans. And how about this tweet from October 2019, in which Titania had some advice for dog owners.
Dog owners, stop saying good boy and good girl to your pets. This kind of gendered language is normalizing the myth of canine sexual dimorphism and delegitimizes the lived experience of trans dogs.
And the subsequent outrage ensured that the tweet went viral. And just a couple of months ago, a leading pet talent agency in the UK called Urban Paws was asking owners whether their cats or dogs identified as gender neutral or non-binary. After the backlash, the company claimed it was a mistake. But the specific addition of a gender identity category on an application, it's hardly the equivalent of a typo. And what about this article from the website of Vet Help Direct? Which pronoun do pets have a gender identity? And then, of course, we've got PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, the world's leading animal rights organisation, which posted the following call to arms on Twitter to end speciesism. Evolve your language and learn how we've been taught to think of other animals. They're not an it and should never be talked about like objects. It's about time that somebody took a stand for non-binary pigeons. And this is by no means the only example of Titania's ideas being enacted by woke activists. Here's my top 10 examples of when her absurd demands became reality. On 22nd December 2018, Titania tweeted,
"We should remove biological sex from birth certificates altogether to prevent any more mistakes from being made."
And on 17th December 2020, the New England Journal of Medicine concurred. Sex designations on birth certificates offer no clinical utility, and they can be harmful for intersex and transgender people. And on the 1st of October 2019, Titania tweeted this.
White parents, if you really want to prove that you're not racist, you should send your teenage daughters on unaccompanied walking holidays in the tribal regions of North Pakistan.
On the 12th of October 2019, Forbes magazine wrote, why Pakistan should be on every solo female traveller's bucket list. On the 15th of October 2018, Titania suggested that Winston Churchill was worse than the Nazis. She wrote,
during the Second World War, these two Nazis went head to head. Can we really be sure the better man won?
And on the 11th of February 2021, Churchill College at Cambridge University agreed. Churchill College panel claims wartime PM was a white supremacist leading an empire worse than the Nazis. On the 19th of September 2018, Titania criticised Julie Andrews, aka Mary Poppins, for chimney soot blackface. And on the 28th of January 2019, The New York Times wrote an article, Mary Poppins and a Nanny's Shameful Flirting with Blackface. On 29th April 2019, Titania pointed out that scientists have yet to discover the difference between men and women. She wrote,
"If scientists are so clever, how come they haven't found a way to tell the difference between human males and females?"
And on the 24th of March 2022, USA Today published this. Scientists agree there is no sufficient way to clearly define what makes someone a woman. And with billions of women on the planet, there is much variation. On the 22nd of January 2019, Titania called for the Oscars to prioritize diversity. She wrote,
"I've decided to award new intersectional Oscars to ensure diversity triumphs over merit. Categories to include Most Feminist Picture, Most Woke Screenplay, Least Predatory Male, Gayest Sound Editing, Fattest Supporting Filipino, and Bravest Vegan in a Trans Black Role."
On the 12th of June 2020, the Academy concurred. Oscars announce new diversity and inclusion plans. On the 30th of January 2019, Titania accused Laurence Olivier of a hate crime for his performance as Othello. On the 9th of October 2021, the University of Michigan agreed. Renowned professor cancelled for showing legend Laurence Olivier in blackface in 1965 film Othello. On the 2nd of May 2020, Titania criticised the NHS for appropriating the LGBTQ rainbow flag.
"The great tragedy of this pandemic is that children throughout the UK have been indoctrinated into appropriating the LGBTQIA+ flag. Never mind the virus, we need a vaccine for bigotry."
And on the 6th of May 2020, Forbes magazine wrote, should the LGBT community call out appropriation of rainbow flag for NHS? On the 6th of June 2019, Titania demanded an option on social media to mute white males. And on the 14th of July 2020, Instagram concurred. They came up with a mute white people sticker. On 12th September 2019, Titania argued that scientists cannot possibly know whether ancient skeletons are male or female. She wrote,
"So-called scientists are now claiming that these skeletons are male based on analysis of their protein. Protein is a transphobic construct. Next, they'll be telling us they can work out their pronouns by measuring femurs."
And on the 18th of July 2022, gender activists concurred. Gender activists pushed to bar anthropologists from identifying human remains as male or female. This video is available as an article on my Substack. This and other articles will be available there first, so make sure to head on over there and subscribe now.